I can't change 10 to a base of 2, but I can estimate it. I know the answer is going to be a little higher than 3, but how do I solve this? So this is when we have to use our inverse operations. This is when we have to use that whole idea of solving. So what am I going to do if I want to do the inverse of an exponential? Not the inverse of a power. Remember, it'd be different if it was x to the second power, then I could use square root. But if it's 2 to the x power, I don't know what root to use. I can't use the xth root, right? I can't do that. But what did we learn about all last week? Logs, yeah. And remember how you had to write over and over again that logs is the inverse of an exponent? Because they use the same rules as exponents? We kept saying over and over again how they're related to exponents. They're inverses, they're inverses, they're inverses. So, we are going to log both sides so that we can use the inverse. Now, logs have bases, correct? We can use any base we want when we log both sides. I can use log with a base of 57.5 if I want. But I would think that you would want to use a log that had a base that would actually be helpful to get rid of that 2, because that's the goal, right? I want to get to that x. So what log base would make sense if I want to get rid of the 2? Yeah, I got to match the bases, don't I? Remember that property? That was one of the first properties we learned. If the bases match up, then things simplify, and I just have an x. So I want to just do log with a base of 2 on both sides. So this is what we're going to write on both sides. Log base 2. I'm going to color code it here, so see if that makes sense. I know. I'll turn it back on. Thank you. So in red there, I have that what I'm doing to both sides. I'm doing the log with base 2 on both sides. I still have 2 to the x on the left and a 10 on the right. So the rules of algebra say that as long as I am performing the same operation on both the left and the right side of the equal sign, then that's okay, right? That's legal. So that's what I chose to do. And I strategically chose to use a log with base 2. So that way now my left side simplifies to just x. That's why I chose log base 2. That's that property that said if the bases match up, they undo each other. And they simplify to just x.
So this is solving by using logs?
This is solving by using logs, right? By using our inverse operations. Inverse property. Now the issue is most of your calculators only function with log base 10, called a common log, or log base e, called a natural log. Most of your calculators do not use log base 2. So what the heck? How are we supposed to find out our number? You know? And so this is where we're going to learn how to do that. Because up until now, no, we're going to do a calculator now. Up until now, what we've been doing is, okay, we know it's a number a little bit more than 3. Let's keep putting in some values and just checking it, right? Until we get something that's close. That's what we've been doing up until now. So this is a way to do this called change the base formula. And what it allows you to do is to evaluate a log with any base, even if you don't have a Casio or a TI Inspire. Most of your Casio calculators will allow you to use any base you want, and the TI Inspires will allow you to use any base you want. Okay, but any other calculator, you have to use this one, okay? But it's good for everybody to know this process, because sometimes when you go in to take a test, you have to use their calculator, or you have to use the calculator that's on the computer, and they probably will not let you use any base you want. Okay, you're going to be working with common log or natural log. All right, so if I want to evaluate log 10 base 2, This is what I have to put in. I'm going to use common log. I put log 10 in first. You're going to close your parenthesis in your calculator. Very important. Because your calculator is going to come up with log and then put a parenthesis. And you put a 10 in, you're going to close your parenthesis. Then you're going to hit the divide sign, and you're going to put log 2. You're going to divide it by log 2.
Do you close with parentheses and put log 10 in parentheses?
Mm-hmm. Yep. You don't really need to close the parenthesis on the 2 because it's the end of your problem. You can. You should get a number a little bit bigger than 3. We've already estimated that. You get 3.3. Now, we usually go out 3 decimal places. So 3.322. We would want to round that to 3 decimal places. So we'd have to look at the 4th decimal place to decide what the 3rd decimal place should do, and it would tell it to round up. Now, you don't have to use common log. You could also do the same exact thing with natural log. I'd like you all to try that as well. Natural log 10 divided by natural log 2. And make sure you get the same exact answer. Just to show you that you could get the same answer. Yeah, for any log at any base. The base goes on the bottom, right? So on your calculator, you have to put a 10 in first, and then hit the log button, and then divide by 2 log, and then enter. There you go. All right, so we get our answer either way using natural log or common log, 3.322. Your instructions for whatever problem you're doing will say how many decimal points to have it go out. If it doesn't, have it go out 3. That's the standard. Any questions there? Any questions? How the change the base formula works?
Boy, so you just kind of like.
This is how you use a standard calculator in order to evaluate with any base. All right, let's try another problem. Let's do 4 to the x minus 7 power is equal to 75. You need to really write it down. I would highly recommend writing down everything first before you ever touch a calculator. Shouldn't touch a calculator until you have everything written out on your paper, exactly what you want to do. When you log both sides, what base are you going to use? 4. Good. So usually what I do is I'll go ahead and write out what I would be putting in the calculator before I ever do. This is not my last step. I still have not touched a calculator yet because I'm not done solving for x. What am I going to have to do at the very end? Add 7, right? So I'd even cross it out there and I'd put a plus 7 here at the end. Now that it's solved for x, now is when I pick up a calculator. Now I pick up a calculator and say, okay, log 75, close my parenthesis, divide by log 4, close my parenthesis, I hit equals. I get that answer, and I hit plus 7. And then I get one answer all at one time. That way I'm not like having to write down this big long decimal number throughout my whole problem. Has to be at the bottom. The base is always on the bottom. Order matters when you're dividing. For sure. That's why you write it down. All right, Jalen, what'd you get? 10.11? Okay, can you go out one more decimal place for me? 10.114?
Yeah.
All right, very nice. Questions there? We're going to do one more. One more.
I'm getting this new stopper. It's about to
Awesome.
be a breeze.
Awesome.
Wow. Wow.
2e to the x plus 4 is equal to 22.
Alright, so I was lying when I said it's about to be a breeze.
Don't let the e fool you. Don't let it trick you up. What needs to go first? What has to happen? Subtract that 4. You're right. 2e to the x is equal to 18. What has to happen now? Nope. Divide by 2. E to the x is equal to 9. All right. Now that e to the x is by itself. Oh, I have to do a log base e? What's that called? Natural log. Don't write log base e. Just write natural log because that's the button you're touching on your calculator, right? You know it's log base e. It's not confusing. Quit saying something's confusing just because it uses another name. Right? That's not a big deal. That's like calling someone Miss S instead of Mrs. Stauffer. That's not confusing. Right? It's not a big deal. So now we're going to natural log both sides, right? So when you see E in your problem, you know you're just going to be using natural log instead of a log with some other base. It actually makes your decision a lot easier. And now the left is just an X, right? And all you got to do is touch a natural log button with the 9, and you're going to get a number.
Wait, so you put in,
2.1.
oh, these cancel out.
Mm-hmm.
And you're left with S.
And then just hit natural log 9.
I don't know how I typed it in wrong. Obviously, it's not supposed to be extra.
Yeah, I don't know where the 10s are coming from. You're supposed to hit log. Yeah, you're supposed to hit log, not 10.
Okay, so actually
No, you hit 10.
I clicked.
You're supposed to hit log. So you have to hit, to get blue, you have to hit control button. Yep. All right, what decimal value we get here? 2.197. Next digit's a 2, so it saves a 7. Happy here?